All right, looking online, it has been very difficult to find a really good demonstration on how to create outline notes based on an article that you read. So for demonstration purposes, I'm using a Supreme Court case called Marbury versus Madison. And this is from what used to be the PBS landmark cases, which was very popular from probably 2008 to 2016. But here's Marbury versus Madison. It's a 5-paragraph essay. And the first thing a person should do is read the essay. So reading through it, both sides, how many pages it is, and then to take that essay and mark the key information in the paragraphs. Like, what is the author trying to convey, and then deciding what is the most important detail to get. So let's go ahead and take a look. I already pre-marked this one. So here we go. I went through and just looking at the first paragraph, Marbury versus Madison, arguably the most important case in the Supreme Court history, was the first U.S. Supreme Court case to apply the principle of judicial review. And judicial review is probably the most important part of this entire case, which affects every case from this point on. The power of the federal courts to void acts of Congress in conflict with the Constitution, written in 1803 by Chief Justice John Marshall. The decision played a key role in making the Supreme Court a separate branch of government on par with Congress and the executive. So there's more to the story. That's just the introduction paragraph. So what I did is I highlighted all the key phrases. And if you look over here, here's the outline notes I took. First of all, I wrote the title of the article, which is Marbury versus Madison, and I put the date as a correlated here because the date is important if to test on it. So I start off with Roman numeral 1, and Roman numeral 1, this is pretty much the introductory paragraph or introduction into Marbury versus Madison. And you could just put Marbury versus Madison again, or some other key figure. The cool thing about outline notes is they're your notes. You don't have to design your notes according to anybody else's desire but yours. I mean, so this is my take on it. This is my interpretation. And yours could be very different. You could have different Roman numerals for certain ideas. You could have different key points. But what I'm trying to do is break the Roman numerals up per paragraph. So Roman numeral 1 is just this paragraph. So my first letter right there is, it is the most important case in Supreme Court history, which literally is the first fact stated there. Okay. And there is a subpoint to that, which is number 1. Is the first case, okay, which is the next thing, to actually use or apply judicial review. What I wanted to do is the small number here is building upon the A. So as you can see, you want to indent about 5 spaces, or you want to indent a little bit. If you're typing, it would be 5 spaces or a tab key. So you indent again with the first point that supports A. Most important case. Well, why is it the most important case? Well, it's the first case to use judicial review. Well, what is judicial review? Well, that should be little a will define judicial review. And judicial review, as defined by this article, is the power of the federal courts to void acts of Congress in conflict with the Constitution. So the power of the federal courts to void acts by Congress in conflict with Constitution. Okay, and I just further define that in my own words. It basically rule laws unconstitutional. That's what judicial review does. B, okay, which is still in paragraph 1, okay. B is Chief Justice John Marshall's decision. So what was his decision? Number 1, it made the U.S. Supreme Court on par or equal to Congress. And I really don't like the on par, it's cliche. But basically it's equal to Congress and the executive branch, which is the president. And that is pretty much an outline format of this paragraph. Now looking at the next paragraph, here it is. The facts surrounding Marbury were complicated. In the election of 1880, the newly organized Democratic-Republican Party of Thomas Jefferson defeated the Federalist Party of John Adams. Yes, I love the fact that the Republicans and Democrats were one party at one time. It just shows how much we've changed since the beginning of our country. Anyway, the party of John Adams, which was a Federalist, were creating an atmosphere of political panic for the lame duck Federalists because of the new party that was taking over. In the final days of his presidency, Adams appointed a large number of justices of the peace for the District of Columbia, whose commissions were approved by the Senate, signed by the president, and affixed with the official seal of the government. The commissions were not delivered, however, and when President Jefferson assumed office March 5th, 1801, he ordered James Madison, his Secretary of State, not to deliver them. William Marbury, one of the appointees, then petitioned the Supreme Court for a writ of mandamus, or, defining, legal order compelling Madison to show cause, legal cause, why he should not receive his commissions. So that's the second paragraph. It's fully loaded with lots of information in detail. Let's go ahead and take a look at what I did here. Facts surrounding the case is the title. If you look here, facts surrounding Marbury were complicated. I just put facts surrounding the case. A, President election of 1800. Now, as you guys know, this thing is fully loaded, and there is so much history that this article is leaving out, but you can't cover everything, and you're trying to just cover one case. Thomas Jefferson was elected the president. That was in 1800. Okay, that's the controversy. He was of a new political party, Democrat-Republican. B, he defeated John Adams of the Federalist Party. So that's what I broke down of this section right here. Okay, taking those key facts that I highlighted and saying, how can I make this? So, well, what was, who was Thomas Jefferson? Well, he was elected president. It's part of the election of 1800. And part A here basically defines his political party. It also defines what he did in the defeat of John Adams. B, let's talk about President John Adams. He appointed a large number of fellow justices of peace for the District of Columbia. The justices were approved by the Senate. So you got the number one here. I wanted to really emphasize this, but the justices of peace, once again, were approved by the Senate. They were signed by the president, which was actually President Adams at the time, with the United States seal. So this was a legal binding document that was left on the new president's desk, in which kind of Adams left there. You could even call it a dirty trick in some sort, because it's almost like he wanted Jefferson to know what he did. And then C, the commissions were not delivered. Now, because the president didn't deliver the commissions, it left that up to question for Thomas Jefferson, but that's not really covered much at this point. And then the C here, President Jefferson took office on March 5th, 1801. And then Jefferson ordered James Madison, his Secretary of State. See, here's the C here for Jefferson 1, referring back to what Jefferson did after he took office, to not deliver the commissions. One thing that's not mentioned in this article also is that James Madison, the Secretary of the State, was a huge player and author of the Constitution, which is now in pretty much violation by the president by not delivering the commissions. Not mentioned in this article. And then D, who's this William Marbury guy? This Marbury guy wants something. What does he want? He was one of the justices who did not receive his commission. Okay, so defining who he is. 2, he petitioned the Supreme Court for a writ of mandamus. Okay, and then, of course, what is a writ of mandamus? It's a legal order, small a. We're building on. As you build on, you keep going down, and as you'll see it kind of go into an angle like this as it goes down into more details. A legal order to force Madison to show legal cause why he did not receive his commission. And that is an outline format broken down with the letters and the numbers and the smaller letters in the correct format. Now, granted, you could put things in other places. I mean, it doesn't have to be in the order that I chose. That's the cool thing about taking notes. They're your notes. And you got to take notes in the best way possible in the outline format, organizing it to how your mind likes to see it. So looking at the next article, Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, this is pretty much the entire article. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs. Well, I would go 6 paragraphs. Count that as a separate paragraph. It's not a long article, but it's a great article for summarizing what is going on in this case. And once again, it was also authored by Alex McBride. So let's go ahead and take a look at the one that I highlighted and worked on. All right, let's go ahead and begin reading the first paragraph of Plessy versus Ferguson. In Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, the Supreme Court considered constitutionality of a Louisiana law passed in 1890, providing for separate railway carriages for the white and colored races. The law, which required that all passenger railways provide separate cars for blacks and whites, stipulated that the cars be equal in facilities, banned whites from sitting in black cars and blacks in white cars, with exception to nurses attending children of the other race, and penalized passengers or railway employees for violating its terms. So that's the first paragraph. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first one, which is the Supreme Court decides the constitutionality of Louisiana law separating blacks and whites. So I'm just looking right here. Okay. So I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown. Louisiana law, this is A, separate rail cars for whites and colored races. That was passed in 1890, so I'm just right here. All passenger railways must provide separate cars for whites and blacks. Okay, just right here. A, rail cars must be equal in facilities. So based on that, it was stipulated that the cars would be equal in facilities. 3, both whites and blacks are banned from being in the other race's car. And then A, part under that, is the exception to that rule. Nurses attending children of the other race would be allowed in the opposite car. I wonder what race they were making a accommodation for on that. And then 4, the last part, the law required penalizing passengers or employees who violated the law. So even if you're an employee that you saw this was egregious and ridiculous, you could be fired if you did not force the person to leave that car. Now that is the first paragraph, and I'm going to let you guys go ahead and work on the rest yourself. So this is all up to you, but if you want to use my notes for the first section, go ahead. If you don't, that's fine. You can do your own adjustment to the way you like it, but go ahead and finish this article in outline format yourself. Thank you for joining me on this short lecture. It was amazing trying to find actual notes online over an article that covered the actual Roman numerals and the letters and the numbers and smaller letters to actually see it build into an outline. Very difficult to see. The majority of notes out there are bullet point notes, and they're trying to say their outline. They're not. They're bullet point with headings. So that will be the next lesson I'm going to do for my students, is to teach proper bullet point notes. The amazing thing is that most of this article was probably drafted in an outline form like you see here. They took all their facts, they put them into the outline the way they wanted, and then they took the outline and converted each section into the paragraphs that they wanted. That's usually how you do it. We're just basically deconstructing the article back into outline form, where the author originally probably put it into outline form and then constructed the paragraphs from his outline. And we're just trying to break that outline back out, so it's easier to study, easier to understand, easier to write your own essay based off the information that was provided in this article. And once again, just a big thank you to Alex McBride and your hard work that you put out on this. It's not forgotten. Thank you.